This Rise of the Sacred Sovereign is a very personal, in-depth look into my experience of healing the mother, healing myself as mother. As you can hear, I have a little bit of a cold, but it is still me, Jaishree, creator of the Soul Mapping Matrix and the Soul Culture Yoga School. And I had the gift today of being led in a meditation that I myself lead for many, many years with my mentees, with my couples work in the Soul Culture Yoga School in various ways, which is going back through times and ages, back to birth and going into the womb and truly allowing myself to open up and feel the process of being born, as well as looking at my mother's experience as the witnesser, which we do, of course, in lots of different ways and therapies in our life. And, opening up to this work, opening up to the feeling of reliving an experience that may have been traumatic really is the work. And we need so much of that. And that's why I'm sharing that with you for this Rise of the Sacred Sovereign. Because on healing and on birth, I wrote about Narayani's birth in my second book, Soul Ascension, which came out in 2020. But it's this next book, the third book, where I need to go much deeper into the process of what it was like to move through those first months of her traumatic birth, where I did almost lose my life, where I had to pore through records and possibly decide whether or not to press charges against the hospital. And my parents didn't do therapy. I was born to baby boomers in the late 70s. I grew up in the 80s. Our parents did not have that time where they had having men's group or women going to the red tent. There was a lack of an indigenous lineage in my parents' culture as Jews, even though they grew up with knowing that the Holocaust happened. Even though these were real traumas and pains that were within the biblical Old Testament stories, allegories, and narratives, they really didn't work personally on their own trauma as much. And so, sadly, there was a lot of what people called patriarchal or groups being together and talking more about the hunting, which, in the 50s and onward turned into the hunt corporately for gathering money and taking over power. And women, they were taking care of families. They were educated, they were working a bit, but then usually that trailed off when it was time to be parents. And I know for my mom, who is a gorgeous, extremely educated, had a master's degree in childhood education, was a teacher of French, a beautiful writer, exquisitely brought up and also humbly brought up in a very hardworking family that had its own trauma. There were some martyrdom issues that came up for me in regards to my mom and the way she was able to do everything. There was a surge of engineers and teachers that came up at that time, and the fact that she was able to be a full-time mom was really incredible. And though my mom was amazing, I still had my own karma, I had my own pain, and she dealt with my pain the best way she could. All of these experiences have made me the coach and the mentor that I am. So I'm grateful for everything. And I deeply went into the work after being an actor, where I was able to study psychology and emotions, as well as studying in university religions, Eastern and Western. All these therapies and modalities, they were amazing for my first career. But then I became a yoga teacher. And because I became a yoga teacher, I was introduced to bhakti, very different things. Asana, Ayurveda, all the sciences and Gyan wisdom practices of the sages, which are called yoga, lead up to the crescent jewel, which is really devotional practice. And within that devotional practice of bhakti yoga, we talk about the three components that make it up. A, sambandha, which means relationship. It's all about relationship to myself, to you, to the world, to God, however you deem God to be. And then there's the process of that relationship, it's called the abhideya, or the process of leading to the goal, or the prayojan, which is relationship with the divine in all these different ways. So next week, I am going back to Mother. I'm going to India. and I haven't been since Narayani came through in India, although she was born in America. And you know, my mother, as far as the India mother, is a landscape in a time where I can feel eternally, where I can sweat and pray and bleed and dive into an eternal landscape in an ancient place. Even though there's electricity now and they've paved the roads, even though there's tons of people have smartphones, people are, wearing regular clothing, and not everyone's in a sari. It doesn't matter. The saints live there. My saints, my lineage, my teachers, my guru and his gurus, and all of the sannyas that came after him go to the motherland of India so that they can have the dust of Raj upon their head. And it is now a month called Kartik. And Kartik is the month-long festival of the goddess of Radharani. You may have heard of the goddess in the form of Kali, Durga, or Ananda Ma, the bliss of the mother, or maybe even Durga in the fiery essence. You may have heard of her coming through as Saraswati, the goddess of music and literature. You could think of Mother as Mother Bhumi, as earth herself, as cow. It's all true. But the feeling that most of us women have to forgive ourselves for is the feeling of falling apart and not having each other to be accountable for. Again, men have these groups that they can be accountable for. They can play games, they can play sports, they can buy cars, they can make money, and they can talk about parenting, but they don't actually birth. And women, we have to birth and then rebirth ourselves, because most of us have some kind of birth trauma, and we need new patterns. We need to learn patterns. This is what Soul Mapping Matrix is about. It's about taking you as an adult and allowing you to embody your true birth and the essence of who you are in relationship, not only to yourself, but into relationship of your portals. And your portals are the open spaces that have possibility in them. Those come from direct pillars, stories, or truths that you experience yourself. No one else can experience that. Often through birth, often through a missing parent, often through a latchkey moment where you were left alone, often through being told you were something that you did not agree with, or being told you were a liar, or thieving when you were being as earnest and honest and innocent as you could be. So we have to do this work. We must heal, and we must use each other to do this in community. And that, of course, is what Soul Culture Yoga School is about. Now, this is messy work. This is our DNA coming through and getting repatterned. This is our subtle body energy being asked to repattern. And you have to ask. You have to do that work. You have to set it up by knowing and learning. And this is why I'm talking today about Rise of the Sacred Sovereign as a practice to understand who you are as a soul. Because you don't have a soul. You are soul. And your soul has a substance, and the substance of your soul is the same of that as God, however you deem God to be, whether it's Brahma, whether it's energy, whether it's a tree, whether it's in a person. It certainly is in the Paramatma within you. It's in your own divine teacher, which is inside of you. And so this Sat, eternal, Chitta, consciousness, awareness, is also Ananda, blissful. And that potential for all of it to come together is usually awoken by a guru, by a teacher. It can happen in an instant, but it certainly happens wonderfully and universally in community, in Sangha. And so that Sambandha relationship part of the goal and the process of healing happens when we come together. It happens in Soul Culture Yoga School. Whether or not you thought you were going to be a yoga teacher or not, you can learn to teach and hold space and be awesome as a teacher, as a parent especially, as a lover, as a friend, as a book writer, as a cook, as a lawyer, as a doctor. It's never ending how much this Soul Culture Yoga School can give you in a group, in a Sangha, the healing that comes together for women and men and children especially. And then Soul Mapping Matrix, of course, is that place where you get to come and say, man, I have martyrdom issues. I did it all, or my parents did it all. Man, I know how it feels to go into victim mode. Gosh, my addictions are off the chart. I don't know how to find that calm. This is where you come to work one-on-one with me so that we can mirror each other, and I can give you tools, time-tested, ancient tools that work for millions of people, not hundreds, not thousands, and not my people, but all people, whether it's coming down through me, through Soul Mapping Matrix, or it's coming down through the sages, through Bhagavad Gita, or Srimad Bhagavatam, or Jaiva Dharma, or Mana Shiksha, or Chaitanya Charitamrita, or any of these books that come from this glorious lineage, the salvation that comes from the Bibles that are imprinted in humans that are living purely through nonviolence, through truth, through purity, through discipline, not because they're perfect, but because, like you, they are made of this Satya Ananda substance that has the potentiality in seed form to live a perfected life spiritually by owning your values, owning your triggers as portals for growth. So, how is this realistic? Man, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm tapping in and I'm going to India and I'm bringing my 4.5-year-old daughter because I want her to be imprinted with the sounds and the smells and the true bliss that comes from a people who are naked when they are born and naked when they leave, but they get to be more and more and more naked by having people grow with them there in community, in a village. They never forget what it is to be a village. They never go on their own. They never forget community. In this country and in most Western countries, we have forgotten community. God bless my mother. God bless my father. Even when the towers come down, they are still working within the vacuum that happens in material world. India reminds us that we don't live in a vacuum. We live in community, but we have to tap into each other. And that's what Soul Mapping Matrix is about. It's about making sure I can mirror that, what I went for all those years, every 9 years that I went, every year, to bring it back and make it whole and make it real in the Western world. That is my goal, and that's what I'll continue to do. So thank you for joining me for Rise the Sacred Sovereign. What is it that you wish to do that is epic? What is it that you wish to do as the medicine that nobody wants you to do, that people are telling you you can't do? People are saying you're crazy. They're saying you don't have enough money. They're saying it's dangerous. What is out there on the table that you know will be the medicine for your soul to not only wake up, but to get back into discipline, to clear your plate of unnecessary and unwanted dirt that's covering your heart? Where do you want to be in 3 years, 5 years? Where do you want to be in 6 months? Because the time is now. The earth has split. The consciousness has changed, and it's getting more difficult. If you have a dream and it's real, I would love to talk with you about it. Look at this comment below. Tune in. Go to JaishreeYoga.com. Look at Soul Mapping Matrix. I'd love to work with you. And then maybe I'll take you to India, because that's where it goes when I work with people. We take our soul culture yogis to India. We take our beloved culture couples to India for soul culture. We make it happen. I love you very much. Namaste. Panchakalpatrubhyas chakripa sindubhyeva chapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. May all of your teachers come and be there for you and allow you to wake up to see the triggers that you have as portals for bliss.